right, let's go. Welcome to Beach Science of Swings. I'm Alvin, and today we're going to be ranking family cars. Specifically, family cars that we've owned, because I have much better experience with those than cars that I've not owned and I claim to know about, like some people do. So, without further ado, let's get started. Uh, so I don't think we've owned the most interesting cars. Like I don't think we've owned some things like Alfa Romeos and all that. However, we have had some interesting-ish cars, like. So yeah, we're gonna be talking about that today. We're gonna be ranking them in terms of practicality, reliability, but safety, interest too, because some of these things are part of your childhood. They're part of what makes your family a family, and a car should be part of that family. If you have a very boring car, it kind of you never get to experience that part of life, if you know what I mean. So that will also factor into the tier list. And yeah, we'll be busting some myths. So let's get started right here. I'm going to start the recording of the tier list right now. Yeah, Beach Science. It's fair to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And we are starting with Land Cruiser J150. Oh my days. This is a very comfortable car. I wouldn't say it's as great as people think. I think it's great if you don't own one or if you're a fan of it. But to actually live with it, it's not that interesting of a car. The interior is quite terrible. Ride comfort is excellent, that's for sure. It has a little bit of a wiggly jiggly thing, but off-road, it's very comfortable. I don't think it's that stable, and the steering is not great either. Build quality is questionable sometimes. The mirror, they had an issue and kept folding in when you accelerate and folding out when you don't. And yeah, it kind of these wonky issues. And bear in mind it was meticulously serviced at Toyota, but they couldn't get the clutch to click right. And like there was always something. And like the clutch thing, the rubber came off. And it's not that old. It was a 2019 car, but it's just really, it's a decent car. I think it's an A-tier car. Yeah, it's a pretty good car. I would recommend it. I think I'll give it an A-tier for sure. Mercedes-Benz ML. This is a very mixed opinion. This is a car that is quite reliable for what it is. It's an ML 350. The AMG ones are a bit questionable in reliability, but they are more memorable, understandably. But in terms of a decent family car that's not going to give you too many problems, if you don't off-road too much, this is a pretty decent car. Where I grew up, we grew up in Uganda, Kenya, all those type of environments. Those have the worst roads ever. And like these are going through intense testing. So like this type of testing you're not gonna see in your regular life. Some people are like, oh, get this, it lasts forever. On these roads, of course, it's gonna last forever. But on those roads, that's when they really get tested. You get to see what these cars are really like. And I'm telling you, the ML is pretty decent in those conditions, surprisingly. But it can handle off-roading as well as you'd like. And that's the main reason we got rid of it, was because of that. And for Mercedes, it's all right, but it's not the greatest experience. However, if you want a decent family car, yeah, it will do the job. And it's pretty reasonably priced, especially at that time. So, especially compared to like a J150, still an A-tier car. Volkswagen Touareg. We had a 2004 Touareg a little while ago. Wasn't great. It had a problem with the cable, throttle cable. I think the steering on Touaregs is absolutely terrible. We tried a V10 diesel Touareg too. That one was very fun, but it has a lot of turbo lag and a lot of issues, especially with the air suspension. Volkswagen Touareg is not a car I would recommend. Not in those years. I think it's a C-tier car, honestly. Um, yeah, it does have some redeeming qualities, but it's not the worst. I don't think it's terrible, but it's, yeah. Toyota Hiace, this car, for some reason, I don't know why it was there, but yeah, it's Very practical car, but it took so much fuel. It was quite loud. It was very unstable. I didn't move in it much, if at all. I just didn't really find the appeal of it, to be honest. This is a B tier car. It's like, I know, like, obviously, but like it's not that safe. That's my major concern with this car. Like, you literally, your knees are right there, like a foot away from the front of the car. If you get into an accident, and these commonly do, you keep seeing them, especially in this road. There's a specific highway, quite known for getting into a lot of accidents. Yeah, this is a very commonly associated car with that kind of scenario. So for me, that was a very scary car. 1992 Mitsubishi Shogun. This car, for those days, the time we had it, was a very good car. It had adaptive suspension, very comfortable, reliable, diesel manual. It had so many. In those days, the Shogun was a fantastic car. I don't know what happened to it in like some of those mid years when it went to the monocoque thing. It's kind of up and down. But I think this generation of Shogun is an S tier car. Definitely. In those days, these days it might not fare as well, but in those days it was a pretty decent car, especially like 2001, 2002. If you had a car like that, telling you. ML, I don't know why this is here again. We only had one ML. Let's just leave it at that. I don't know how to delete it, so. Um, Mercedes E-Class. This was a W212. I don't know what this is, something, but yeah, it was that generation 1990s Mercedes E-Class. One of the mirrors was bigger than the other. That's what I remember from it. Very solid car. Those days it was a pretty decent car. I'm ranking it for the time period, not for now. And what it was like then, it was a pretty respectable car, that's for sure. It couldn't do the off-roading bit, but like it could handle like a little light, like you get to like just slightly off the road. Yeah, I could do that. It was a good car. For those days, it was a pretty decent car. I think it's still an A-tier car. And I think a lot of people would agree with that. I don't know if I'm being controversial or not. The next is the House on Wheels. House on Wheels is my days, my days, my days. House on Wheels. Well, I'm sure this is a great car, but I just don't remember it for the greatest reasons. It was not the prettiest Mercedes. Very robust, very reliable for sure. Especially those days. It was kind of at the borderline of when they started to get a bit softer. But I think it's still a B tier car. I don't remember much of it, and I think that's the reason. If it doesn't spark you like that, I think that also is kind of important. That car did not really do that for us, and it didn't last that long in our family either. But it didn't have any issues or anything, so it's still a good car. Land Cruiser J120. Um, this car is one of those ones. Very, very slow. I remember that is the reason we got rid of it. It couldn't handle the hill that well, especially we live on a hill with the top, near the top of the hill, and it just really struggled. Unless you use low range or something. The 2.7 liter is terrible. They understand they do a 3 liter, and I'll talk about that later because we did have a car with that 3 liter engine. But yeah, it was great. It was all right, but I don't think it's even worthy of an A-tier car, to be honest. They do have drive line issues. Apparently, those could snap and everything. Those didn't happen to us, but it was okay. The interior is decent. It's a B tier car. If you get the diesel, I would put it in an A tier, but unfortunately, we have the petrol one. So yeah, if you want it, you can get it, but get the diesel. Toyota Fortuner. Ooh, let's do that a bit later, shall we? We'll talk about that. We get back to that. Mitsubishi Outlander is one of the cars I've had for a very long time. Almost, well, probably over 8, 10 years. This car was a 2008 Outlander. The only issue it ever had was perhaps the timing belt when that snapped. Other than that, it didn't have too many issues. Other than regular maintenance, it was a decent car, very practical for its size. You think, oh, such a small car. No, It's a RAV4 size, but it had 7 seats. You could still put stuff behind the 7 seats, not much, but more than like as much as a Land Cruiser J150, for example. Like I'm telling you, this car was very comfortable. Not the alloy rims maybe detrimented some of the ride quality, but it was decent and could handle light off-roading, very light. Nowhere near as much as a Land Cruiser. This car is an A-tier car for sure. If you have a family those days, definitely recommend it. It did a very good job. The sound system was excellent. Mitsubishi Challenger wasn't there for too long. It was a diesel. This was replaced by the Pajero Sport later. It's a pretty decent car. It had like a little tiny little screen thing and everything. It was quite loud. Apparently, the person that bought it after us really enjoys it. Mitsubishi is really doing well. I think this is an A-tier car. Mm, but it wasn't. It didn't have 7 seats. I don't know. It wasn't that memorable. Like I don't know. Is it really worthy of an A-tier? Let's leave it in the B for now, but we could adjust it later. Toyota RAV4. Now this gen had a lot of recalls. Ours had an issue. It couldn't get above 70 miles an hour, 120 kilometers an hour. Not because that's its top speed. It was definitely faster than that. It had an issue. It had a really strong issue, especially getting up hills. It wasn't a very pretty car. It wasn't very memorable. This is a car I wanted to get rid of immediately. This car was not great. I think a lot of people love it. I don't think it's worth any more, in our experience, any more than the C tier. This was terrible. Range Rover L322. You know what? I'll get back to that. Let's keep the suspense to later. We had a Mitsubishi Shogun Pajero thing. 2003 was the year of its manufacture. We had it in maybe 2008. Those days it was only a few years old. Pretty decent car for those days. It had pretty decent amount of power, especially for those days. Back in the day, I remember it had a fantastic V6 engine noise. It's just amazing. There was this highway, the same highway with the accidents. That car, when it was overtaking cars, you would feel so good. I'm telling you right now. That car was fantastic. It's an A-tier car for sure. Fuel consumption was absolutely questionable. However, like, for those days, it's a pretty decent car. I think it was better than the J120 for sure. Especially for those days. Is it better than an Outlander? It's bigger. Well, the Outlander is shocking. It's a shocking car for what it is. Later on, we had a 2009 or 2010 Mitsubishi Pajero. Same engine, slightly newer, but it had an issue with the four-wheel drive system, the vacuum leak thing. Couldn't get into four-wheel drive. And for some reason, it felt much slower. It really, really struggled and had like this overdrive gear thing. It was just so terrible. With the 4-speed and petrol, this one was much worse. And it really wasn't great in my experience. That one was, especially for the time we had it, was not great. I don't think it was a worthy successor to the one that came before it. Then this Mercedes E-Class, this is a 2006 E-Class. We had it in 2008. It was 2 years old. This car was pretty good, I must say, especially in those days. You had an E-Class Mercedes, it meant something. It had a telephone and everything. You had a telephone in the car. That was pretty cool in those days. I think this is an A-tier car, honestly. It did of course, it wasn't the greatest for the roads, but it could handle decently. It was a very comfortable car, very luxurious, I think, and a lot of people have great experiences running these for years and years, especially as taxis in Germany and everything. This is a very good car. This is an A. I know, like, some people will be like, oh, it's not as reliable as the older ones or as robust. Yeah, but, like, I'm telling you, like, in those days, especially, it was so good looking, you know what I mean? Like, the lights and everything. Like off the face of it, but in person, if you look at them, especially with that house one, it's a good-looking car. I think it's an A-tier car. It's worthy of that. Toyota Hilux. Hi. A lot of people praise the Hilux a lot. I think it's a good car, but as a work car, like, this car has really done, like, you know, I don't have very good experiences with Toyota Hilux. I learned how to drive stick in that car, but unfortunately, it's caused us a lot of issues. Not in terms of reliability. That car is rugged as anything. Of course, it did go through clutches all the time. Like boom, clutch, 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 clutch all the time, clutches. But other than that, um, ride comfort on that car is absolutely atrocious. Um, Also, being a pickup in those certain scenarios, it's not as practical as an SUV because, like, the back is open, everything's open to get wet, things can fly out, especially with that ride comfort, hopping everywhere. Everything you have in the back will just jump out. Um, Also, it caused me serious hip joint problems. The time we sat in it for like 3 to 4 hours in a row, we're stuck in traffic, everything. I had hip problems for about 6 years after that. And my mom had a similar issue once we moved in that car. She only moved in it once. She refused to go in it ever again. But I'm sure as a workhorse, it's great. It helped build our house. But as a family car, no, 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 no. I think this generation was really bad in terms of a family car. But I'm sure as a workhorse, yes, it's excellent. Workhorse is S tier. But as a family car, no. It's a C tier car. Um, as a matter of fact, I feel bad. It's yeah, but it's no, it's worse than a J120 for sure. I don't think it's like as a Touareg and a Hilux, a family car. I don't think like if you pick a Hilux over to as a family car, realistically, you're putting your life in danger. This thing, if there's no load in the back, oh my days, it's so dangerous, especially in the rain. It can kill you. You're putting your family at risk if you buy that car, honestly. But it's a great, reliable car for sure. Toyota Sequoia. This is a very, very practical car. I think it's like a Land Cruiser, but slightly more practical. Not as robust. Interior is ugly. Exterior is just as ugly. But you could put everyone inside it. You can put all their luggage inside it, and you could just, go to the airport. Everything. This is the car I would always take. If you take a Land Cruiser, you're gonna need two cars. You take the Land Cruiser and a RAV4 because there's no space behind the back seats. The Sequoia had space for days. This is an 8-year car. The wheel fell off for some reason. I think something rusted or something like that. Wheel came off. That was peculiar. Yeah, the AC had like some issue with it. I don't know. It didn't really. But and the wear and tear was not that great either. I think it's still an 8-year car if you just want. And the V8 engine was great. That was a very good engine in that car. It was 2 ZFE. Very good engine. I think it's better than the one you are, which I'll talk about later. But I think it's an 8-year car for sure, despite its ugly looks. Toyota RAV4 again. This one is a prettier one. This one had no problems. It looked very good. 2008 RAV4, very good car. Didn't have any problems. Like my mom used to like driving it. One of the few cars that my mom actually likes, which is rare. We all didn't have a problem with it. I don't think anyone had any opinion of it. It wasn't a memorable car in any means, but it did a very good job as a family car, and I think that deserves an A. J70. And I see this car, I smile, not because it's a great car, it's absolutely terrible. But it has a lot of character. Every Friday we used to go shopping in this car. I've had extensive experience with this car. We would always go to the village in this car. Of course, it's so loud. If you can sleep in this car, good luck to you. But you come back, you'll be so tired. It's so uncomfortable, so loud. But it has character. You know what I mean? It doesn't die. I do not remember a single time this car ever had a problem. They can't. They can't die. They don't die under any circumstances, especially if they're maintained at the dealership. Can't die. This car is, like, as a family car, it's not the safest, so I cannot give it an S tier. Rightfully so, I shouldn't even be giving it an A tier either. But it's a very characterful car. Once the motor gets above 80 kilometers an hour, it makes so much noise. The fuel economy is not great. It's a very good car. I really want to give it an A, but rightfully I can't do that because that would mean putting it above the J120. I don't know. Is it better than the J120? I don't think so. But it's definitely more reliable. Like if you're doing some field work or some robust business, definitely J70 is a good car. But a family car, nah, no. It's a beat. It hurts me, but unfortunately, I can't give it any higher than a B tier. J200. This is a 20, the newer one. The facelift J200. This has a 1UR FE. I think this engine struggles a little bit with this car. It's kind of hustled a little bit. The car is very insulated from the road, very quiet, very comfortable. It's more comfortable than the J150, that's for sure. One of the more comfortable cars on this list. Is it more comfortable than the generation that came before? I think so. Because that generation is really bouncy, especially with the hydraulic suspension. I think the J200 is an A tier car. I think it's overpriced for what it offers. Um, I don't think it's any more reliable than anyone would suggest. I think it's ours has an issue with going into. There's something wrong with the low range in that car. It's just not engaging. I don't think it's as reliable as. And we had one before that, J200. The steering had an issue. There's a steering rack problem. The J200 is all right, but it's as you see slightly later, you can understand where it falls short. And I think, especially for that type of money, I think it's an A tier car. However, it's it's kind of it's all right. You know what I mean? J100. This car is one of the best cars I've ever owned. We had a J200 and a J100 back to back, and I think everyone in the family agreed that the J100, especially the LX470 compared to a standard J100, that car was fantastic. It had more car. The interior was beautiful, much better than the J200 in my opinion. The leathers are just better. Leathers are much lower. Like if you touch lower down, the leathers go much further down compared to the J200. The J200 interior is all right. But especially for that type of money, and you're paying that for a J200, I really don't think it's worth it. The J100 for those days was fantastic. The sunroof and everything was beautiful, beautiful car. Very good looking. You look at it, you're just like, wow. A J200 kind of is like a truck. This one was fantastic. I think the J200, the J100 did have its problems. Steering rack went out. The hydraulic suspension used to go out all the time. I don't know what was up with it. It gets bouncier than a bouncing castle when it does. Radiator, did I mention that? Yeah, radiators. Um, and yeah, the fan was really, really loud. But I can't give it any less than an S tier because we did have that car for 10 years in its defense, and it was 10 years. There was an owner for 10 years before that in its defense. It was 20 years old by the time we got rid of it. And I think it was its time. It did have rust and all that, but for 20 years old, I don't think you could knock it. That was the best Land Cruiser we've had. The best Land Cruiser ever. Not to mention, there was one before that with a 4.7 liter 2UZ FE. That's a better engine than the 1UR FE. It has more get up and go than the 1UR. I don't know whether it has anything to do with cylinder deactivation, but the 1UR is just lacking something. If it was the 2UZ FE Land Cruiser 200, it would get a better rating, but it's not as good as a J100, in my opinion. Land Rover Discovery, I'll get back to that. Mitsubishi Shogun is 2015, 3.2. That engine is fantastic. It has a lot of turbo lag. However, once you get up to speed, it has a lot of grunt. It's like, "Urgh," and it's excellent value for money. They improved it in 2015. It has more features. It's more comfortable. But the grunt, the engine is fantastic. These cars are underrated. I think this is one of the best SUVs we've had. The handling is fantastic. Off-roading is decent. It's not as good as a J100, but it's very good. I think it's better than the 150. It's very reliable. Of course, it has two batteries. That could be an issue, and it does need a bit more touch-ups than something like a J150. However, it's less expensive than a J150, admittedly, and it's just as comfortable, especially on the road. It's more composed. I think it's an S tier car. I can't lie. The previous one is very good, but in the diesel, I can't argue with it, especially for this type of money. Like, you know what you're getting? People need to look into these a bit more. Headlights were fantastic, especially at night. Like, there's nothing to complain about. When I get in that car and I'm about to drive it, I'm always happy. Like, we had a car on this list that's very good, and I'll talk about more of it later. But, like, if I get into that and get out of that into the Mitsubishi Pajero, I'm not complaining. Oh, here's this 4.7 liter J200. This car, especially in those days, we had it maybe 2015, 2016. In those days, it's a very good car. I think this is better than the J150, but I think that overall, the J150 is slightly better value than a J200. But in these years, with the 4.7 liter, it's a decent one. I've tried the 4.5 TD. It feels powerful, but it's not actually faster if you think about it. Because you're like rah 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 rah. It's making noise and everything. You feel like yeah, it's going. But if you look down at the speedo, and you compare it to the 4.7, it's not faster. I don't think so. It feels more powerful, but it's not any quicker, if you know what I mean. Fortuner is definitely a better car than that. In terms of engine and grunt and power, Fortuner feels like which brings us on to, but we'll talk about that later when they spoil. Range Rover Sport. Oh, this is one of the only cars that has actually stranded us. Um, it was a mysterious reason. Most likely it's the battery. This was more to do with the dealer putting in the wrong battery. But other than that one issue, it never ever had any other issue. With us, it did not. Um, Understandably, with the people after it may have, but with us, I think it was a pretty good car. It was so fast. This is a Range Rover Sport Supercharged. This is one of the most memorable cars. We always talk about this car every time. One of our favorite cars on this list. Fuel economy was better than the Land Cruiser, for sure. Would fill it up less. And the tank was also smaller, which was surprising. That's something that will surprise most people. Interior was fantastic. It was beautiful, beautiful interior. The boot was a decent size. Very stable car. Very, very safe car. That one's for sure. If you need an emergency maneuver, it's great. Let me check if it's still recording. Any emergency maneuvers in this car, handle it. If like my mom wants to drive it or something, this is a very approachable car. Women love it, men love it. I can understand why it's so popular, sold in the millions. This is an A-tier car. Regardless of what people say, we had it. We didn't have that as many issues as you would think it would have, definitely. Toyota Hilux 2022. This car had an issue. This reason got rid of it. It was a bit unstable, especially around the front. It was a 2.4 liter, not the 2.8. We had a 2.8 in a different car. This car it was better than the old one. I think this is it understandably doesn't have as much room as an SUV, but I think it's all right. Like if you have this as your family car, it's not the worst thing in the world. I think it's still this is an A-tier car. It's slightly more comfortable than the old one. I think that makes all the difference. The interior is better. Technology is better. Everything is better. It's better in every way. It's better looking. It's a decent car. I can see why it's popular. Um, but personally, it's not my favorite, but it's there. Um, Suzuki Jimny. We used to take me around in this when I was very young. This car is a robust car. Yo, people love this car, and I completely understand. Well priced, like for what it is. This is an excellent car. They do roll over. It's not that safe, but in those days, it's a pretty decent car. I think this is my days. It's an A-tier car, like for what it offers, especially in those days, 2001, 2, 3, whatever. The car is still there. This is a decent car. It's not that bad, and for the money, yeah, it's not the safest. This is why it can't go in anywhere near S tier. For rollovers, ideally it should be a B tier car, but remember we're talking about 20 years ago plus. It's all right. Toyota Corolla. This is I don't remember it much. I don't think it offered much of an experience, but in those days, the Corolla is a very A tier car back in the day. Um, very reliable. Yeah, it just gets the job done, you know what I mean? It's not the most luxurious car, but it does everything as you want and all that. I don't think you can go wrong with buying a Corolla. Definitely not. Mercedes-Benz GL. This is a car many people in the family didn't like. I absolutely loved it because of the engine, but it just has so many problems with the air suspension, water leaks, especially around the back. Water leaks into the back part causes issues. The boot didn't work. Air suspension didn't work that well most of the time. The computers, the water gets in and under the floor where most of the computers are stored, which destroys the air suspension ECU, ADS ECU. Many of those ECUs die. The headlights didn't work. The central locking would give in too many times. Many of the times it wouldn't even start. Car had so many issues. The only redeeming thing about it was the engine. But I don't know if that's enough. The steering had issues. It had hydraulic leaks. It had coolant leaks. I don't know. This car is really bad. If you get a good one, it can be alright. But unfortunately, I don't think there's many people that have had good stories with this car either. Most of the time, it was parked. I don't think it can get any higher than a D. Honestly, if it the engine's the only redeeming factor about it. But other than that, most of the things just didn't work. Some of the seats in the back wouldn't lock. Every time it had a new problem. And when it did work, the fuel economy was absolutely horrendous. It was terrible, 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 terrible. If you barely drive it, don't drive it every day, it's still going to cost well over $140 a week in fuel. I don't know about that. Land Rover LR4. This is the best family car we've ever had. Honestly, the only issues that went wrong with it were air suspension, air suspension bags, and there was something with the door. One of the sensors in the door failed, which means the air suspension couldn't lift because it thought the door was still open. Sometimes the door locks would give in. The handbrake could freeze, but that could be fixed by just slightly accelerating, so that wasn't the worst of issues. But other than that, it was a pretty reliable car, especially for the time we had it. Headlights were not the greatest, but understandably, that's a spec issue. Not You could have higher specs that had that. I think this is the best family car I've ever had. Safe. It was very, very. Everyone loved this car. They all look at it like, wow, it's so amazing. Very, very comfortable. This is the second most comfortable car on this list. More comfortable than the J200, more comfortable than the J100 for sure. We're so happy to get rid of it. In fact, we had the J100 and then we got this Discovery. We immediately got rid of the J100 after that. It's such an experience having this car. We had some of the best memories in it. You could go anywhere. Off road is just the ride, like everything put together. And I don't think it was that much less reliable than the J100 Land Cruiser, which is honestly one of the most reliable. Issue for issue, I think they had just as many issues as each other in the same amount of time. That, like, if you equate the amount of years we had the Discovery and the amount of years we had the Land Cruiser, if you say 5 years in, 5 years for each, the issues would have been almost exactly the same. I don't think they're as unreliable as people think, and for that reason, I think everyone missed this car for sure. The reason they got rid of it, I don't know. But yeah, it was the best family car I've ever had, honestly. It could do everything correctly. There's nothing it did not do well. Um, okay, let's wrap this up quickly. Toyota Fortuner is one of the greatest cars we've had. This is better than the J150. In my opinion, I think it's better than it's closer to the J200, I think. It's not as comfortable as a J150, but it's peppy. It's like, it's muscular with a 2.8 liter. Very good value car. This car is fantastic. It does have its issues. The tailgate died and Toyota couldn't fix it. Battery terminals keep jumping out. There'll be an odd glitch here and there. But overall, I think it's definitely better than the J150. This is one of the best cars we've had. It doesn't deserve any less than an A tier. I mean, an S tier for sure. Especially considering the value. It's a very good car. Range Rover L322 we did not have for too long because it locked us out. This one I can understand where the reliability concerns come from. The person selling it to us is selling it because he was struggling with that too. Range Rover L322 is, the interior is so beautiful, absolutely amazing. And for that short time that was there, it was one of the most memorable cars. I remember the V8 engine was fantastic. It's a 4.4 liter diesel, amazing. People loved it, loved looking at it, everything, but the reliability is a bit concerning. I don't think it's D tier. It's not as bad as a GL. Um, I love the GL so much though. I love it, but I can't recommend it because it just barely moved. L322 is it's a B tier car. It's still like it has its redeeming factors like a 70 series. But to recommend it for a family, it's its own specialist thing. You have to love it, and you must have another car. Same with the J70. If you have another car that can actually take you day-to-day runs, comfortable long runs, yeah, sure. If you have another car, buy it. But if you don't, avoid. And then there's this Peugeot 50 something, 504 or something like that. This is, yeah, great car. I wouldn't say it's directly our family car. This is actually a grandparents who I used to be there all the time, so it's kind of technically family to me. This car is a great car, especially in those days. We used to call it the Zoom. The Zoom is an S tier. I'm sorry. This car was so reliable, so tough, so everything. So let's see. I hope you have enjoyed the video. Let me see if there's anything I need to readjust. I don't think so. Maybe I'll move the Sequoia just here. The Shogun is there. I'll move this Mercedes somewhere there. Maybe here. ML is not as good as an E, I think. Worse than the Range Rover Sport. Yeah, is it better than, yeah, I think so. For a family car, yes. This is more memorable than that, but I can't honestly recommend that over this. Yep. I think this list is pretty conclusive. I think this is very, in our experience, this is what it's like. I don't know what you think, but if you do think otherwise, please do put it in the comments section. I know many people may disagree, but in our experience, especially with those roads and those tough conditions, you would be surprised what some of these cars can be like. And yeah, this is Beat Science of Swings. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Ciao, ciao.